At 52 years old, I was standing behind a gas station in Nebraska with my entire life stuffed into two torn duffel bags while my ex-wife sent me photos from what used to be my office. Her new man was sitting behind my desk. My desk. The one I'd built the company on. The message beneath the photo made my chest tighten. "You'll end up sleeping under bridges, Mark, exactly where you belong." But less than 24 hours later, I was standing on a snow-covered ridge in Montana, staring at a county official whose face had gone completely white as she whispered words that made my legs almost give out. "My name is Mark Holloway. 6 months ago, I had everything a man could think he wanted. A transportation company valued at $21 million, a 7-bedroom home overlooking the outskirts of Denver, 2 kids I believed loved me, and a wife I trusted without question. Today, I'm about to tell you how I lost all of it in 3 months and how I found something worth far more inside a letter hidden beneath a dead man's bed. The night everything collapsed, the wind sliced through the parking lot off Interstate 80 like it meant to finish me off. I was still wearing the same coat I'd worn the year before when I signed the deal that officially made me a multi-millionaire. Now, it was one of the only jackets I owned. The duffel bags held a few clothes, an old pair of work boots, a battered photo album, and a chipped mug my daughter Lily had painted in elementary school. It read, "Best Dad Ever." My phone buzzed. Another picture from Rachel. This one showed her holding up freshly signed contracts beside Evan Kincaid, the man she'd replaced me with. His arm was draped casually around her waist, his watch glinting under the lights, worth more than the truck I'd been sleeping in for a week. The caption said, "Closed another 7-figure deal today. Hope the shelter has room for you tonight." I hadn't told her I was living in my pickup. She just assumed I'd hit bottom. I wasn't wrong. 3 nights earlier, a shelter attendant had turned me away, apologizing quietly and telling me to try again the next evening. "Wednesdays are usually lighter," he'd said, like that was supposed to help. That's when my phone rang. My sister, Elaine. I almost ignored it. I didn't have the strength for another offer of help, another reminder of what I'd lost. But something made me answer. "Mark, don't hang up," she said immediately. "I'm not calling to give you money." That got my attention. "It's about Uncle Gabriel's place in Montana. The county's demolishing it tomorrow. I went up there to grab whatever I could." She paused. "I found a box, and inside it, there's a letter. It's for you." Uncle Gabriel had been dead for nearly 40 years. He was the strange one in the family, the loner who lived in the mountains, obsessed with maps and minerals, always muttering about land and value and patience. "What kind of letter?" I asked. "It's sealed in plastic, like he expected everything else to rot away. Mark, you need to see this. Where are you?" I lied. "I'm heading east." I had nowhere to go east, or anywhere. "Come to Montana," she said. "I'll cover gas. Don't argue." And for the first time in months, I didn't. I drove all night, replaying my entire life mile by mile. I'd built Holloway Freight from a single rusted rig I bought using money borrowed against my father's life insurance. My dad died at 51, exhausted from working for other people's dreams. "Don't do what I did," he told me in the hospital. "Build something that answers to you." I worked 18-hour days, missed birthdays, missed games, missed moments I thought I could make up for later. Rachel used to tell me she understood. Turns out she was keeping score. The divorce wasn't a breakup, it was an ambush. One morning, I walked into my office to find her, Evan, and 3 attorneys sitting at my conference table, color-coded files, prepared statements, accusations ready. I didn't even have a lawyer. They accused me of emotional abandonment, financial secrecy, neglect. And the worst part? My kids testified. Lily cried as she told the judge I never showed up. My son Noah said I cared more about trucks than people. The ruling erased me. The house, the company, custody, everything. Rachel sold the business within days. I was ordered to pay support based on a salary I no longer had. Employable, they called me. By the time I reached Montana, I hadn't slept in nearly 2 days. Elaine met me at a diner older than both of us. She slid a weathered box across the table. At the bottom was the letter. My hands shook as I opened it. Mark, if you're reading this, you've probably lost everything that once made you comfortable. Good. Comfort hides truth. The land in Section 12, Range 4, West, Township 1 North belongs to you. I filed the deed in your name the day you were born. I found what's under it in 1969. The world wasn't ready then. It is now. Don't tell anyone until you have no other choice. The mountain doesn't care who owns the paper, only who understands the ground. I typed the coordinates into my phone. What appeared on the screen made my heart stop. Industrial buildings, roads, heavy equipment. The county assessor didn't even try to hide her reaction. She left the desk, returned with her supervisor. "Sir, are you connected to the Holloway Trust?" I might be. They'd been looking for me for years. The land had been leased to an industrial mining consortium extracting lithium, one of the largest deposits in the region. "Have you been receiving your royalty payments?" he asked. I laughed. "What payments?" The silence answered me. The trust account balance was over $49 million. I sat down on the floor right there. I didn't rush back to my old life. I didn't call Rachel. I didn't post anything. I stayed quiet. 6 months later, my kids called. They'd found emails, messages, proof their mother had coached them on what to say. They showed up at my door. I forgave them before they finished apologizing, because losing everything taught me what actually mattered. Rachel works reception at a dental office now. Evan sells used cars. My kids study geology in Montana, and I keep 2 things framed on my wall. One is the letter that saved my life. The other is a screenshot of that text she sent me. "You'll end up sleeping under bridges." She was right. That life did die. But what grew from it was something she could never touch.
The first thing people don't understand about sudden wealth is this. It doesn't feel like winning. It feels like standing on unstable ground, waiting for the earth to decide whether it's going to hold you or swallow you whole. The morning after I learned about the trust, I woke up in a cheap roadside motel outside Billings, staring at the water stain on the ceiling like it might explain how my life had flipped upside down in less than a day. $49 million. The number didn't feel real. It felt dangerous. I hadn't slept. My phone was face down on the nightstand, buzzing every few minutes with missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Word travels fast in small towns when county offices start pulling old files. So I did the only thing that made sense. I stayed quiet. For the next 2 weeks, I lived like a man with nothing. Same diner breakfasts, same beat-up pickup, same flannel jacket that smelled faintly of diesel and cold nights. I told the bank to freeze any outward transfers until I had legal representation I trusted. Then I hired Caleb Monroe. Caleb wasn't flashy, no billboards, no TV ads, just a quiet man with wire-rimmed glasses who specialized in post-divorce asset recovery and had a reputation for being merciless without being cruel. He read the trust documents once, then again. Then he leaned back and said, "Your ex-wife didn't just win unfairly, she won illegally." Apparently, when Rachel claimed I had hidden assets, she'd sworn under oath that she had full visibility into our finances. That lie mattered. A lot. "These assets predate your marriage," said Caleb. "They were never marital property, and more importantly, you didn't even know they existed. That changes everything." I expected to feel rage. Instead, I felt tired. "What happens now?" I asked. Caleb folded his hands. "Now you decide what kind of man you want to be with the truth." While the lawyers worked quietly, life did something unexpected. It slowed down. I rented a small house near the edge of town. 1 story, modest, no gates, no views meant to impress anyone, just enough space to breathe. I started consulting again. Small logistics firms, family-owned operations that reminded me of who I used to be. I charged fair rates. Sometimes I waived fees entirely. People were shocked that I didn't want the spotlight. But here's the thing no one tells you when you lose everything. Anonymity becomes sacred. 3 months later, the call came. From my daughter. "Dad, can we talk?" Her voice sounded older, careful. She told me things no parent ever wants to hear. That her mother had rehearsed their testimony, that she'd told them if they didn't choose her, they'd end up bounced between apartments with a father who didn't care enough to fight. My son got on the phone after. "You believed her," he said. "I thought you chose money over us." I closed my eyes. "No," I told him. "I chose you. I just didn't realize I was choosing wrong by being gone." They came to see me the next weekend. We didn't talk about the past at first. We cooked, walked, sat quietly, let silence do what arguments never could. Healing doesn't arrive loud. It arrives gently when no one's trying to win anymore. Rachel called for the first time shortly after. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, then another. By the fifth, her voice had changed. "Mark, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about the land. Evan's company is collapsing. The house is behind on payments. We can fix this." We couldn't. Not because I wanted revenge, but because trust, once broken, doesn't respond to money. The legal outcome was swift and devastating. The sale of my company was challenged. Support orders were recalculated. False statements were documented. Rachel lost nearly everything she'd taken. But I never told her about the trust. I didn't need to. Some victories are strongest when they stay silent. 6 months later, my kids moved in with me. Not because a court ordered it, because they chose it. One night, my son found the old coffee mug in a box I hadn't unpacked yet. "Best dad ever," he read quietly. I waited for the joke. Instead, he said, "You earned this. We just didn't see it before." That's when I finally understood what my uncle had meant. The mountain doesn't care who owns the map. It cares who's willing to lose everything else before they understand where to stand.
The first snow fell early that year. It covered the Montana hills in a way that made everything look clean again, like the past could be erased if you just waited long enough. I stood on the porch of the small house I'd rented, coffee warming my hands, watching my children load boxes into the back of my truck. Not the truck I'd once used to haul freight across 6 states, but the same battered pickup that had carried my life in duffel bags months earlier. Funny how things come full circle. Lily was laughing with her brother about something trivial. Noah was pretending not to smile. They were lighter now, less guarded, like kids again. That was the moment it hit me. I hadn't just survived. I'd been returned. The foundation came next. I didn't announce it, didn't brand it with my name in bold letters. I just quietly funded legal aid for parents, mostly fathers, who were buried under false claims, weaponized custody battles, and legal systems that mistook silence for guilt. We helped hundreds of families reunite. Not all of them won, but none of them had to fight alone. That mattered. Rachel called one last time. I answered. Her voice was smaller now, careful, no venom left. "I never meant for it to go this far," she said. I thought I deserved more." I let the silence stretch. "You did get more," I said finally. "You got everything I thought mattered." She didn't respond, because we both knew how little that turned out to be. Evan vanished quietly from the city. Debt has a way of doing that. The company he'd bought with leverage and arrogance folded within a year. Drivers left, contracts dissolved, reputation once lost never comes back. I didn't celebrate. I remembered. Because I'd been that man once, just without the humility. One evening, Lily asked to see the land, so I took them. We drove for hours until pavement turned to dirt and cell service disappeared. The mining operation sat in the distance, functional, industrial, unromantic. She expected something grand. Instead, I handed her the original map. "Your great-uncle marked this before lithium mattered, before the world knew what it needed," I said. Noah traced the contour lines. "He waited," he said. Yes, I replied, and he made sure I'd only find it when I was ready. There was a second letter. I hadn't planned to share it, but that night by the fire, I unfolded it and read aloud. If you've made it this far, it means you lost everything you were clinging to. Good. Now you can build something that can't be taken. Wealth isn't money. It's knowing who stays when money is gone. Protect that. The rest will follow. Lily cried quietly. Noah nodded like something had finally clicked into place. Today, my life looks smaller from the outside. No mansion, no entourage, no headlines. But every morning, my kids call or knock on my door. Every evening, I sleep without fear. And the money? Most of it sits untouched, because I learned something living in my truck that no balance sheet ever taught me. You don't lose your life when you lose everything. You lose it when you forget who you are without it. I still keep two things framed in my office. The first is that map, creased, hand-drawn, patient. The second is a screenshot of a message sent in cruelty meant to destroy me. You'll end up with nothing. They were wrong. I ended up with what mattered. If you've ever hit rock bottom, if you've ever watched your world collapse while others celebrated, remember this. Sometimes the ground gives way so you can finally see what was holding you up all along. Because the mountain doesn't care who owns the map. It only cares who understands the climb.